Okay, here is our little kitchen, and I have this butcher block that's been with us for about 40 years. It's 24 inches square, I think about 12-inch thick, dovetailed maple. I'm going to move this up here, and I'm going to move in the Anova precision oven, and we'll configure it here on the butcher block before deciding where it's going to live. And here is the oven sitting on our butcher block. And now I'll try to get the parts together and see about assembling it. Of course, when all else fails, we can actually read the instructions for the setup. So I think I will do that. And then come back and start setting it up. Well, the first thing to do will be to remove all of the packing tape. There's some strapping tape here, strapping tape here. Pull this down. Not much to it. I think that's the entire unpacking. Now they're asking, once we assemble it, to run the rear heating element for 15 minutes, and we'll do that in a little bit. But before we go any further, let's take a quick look inside. And so we have runners here that the racks go on. There's a port here for the temperature probe. There's a heating element in the back, a fan in the back, a heating element under the floor here, and a heating element on top. So let's finish the assembly. This is a convection steam oven, and it has a water tank, and this is the water tank. I don't remember exactly what the capacity is, but it's pretty big compared to other steam ovens, and this slides in here. We have a cover for the fill tank, for the water tank. It has a little pop-up cover here, and that just sits on the top like that, and you would lift it to fill. And there is this tray that goes underneath, and this is used to collect steam. So instead of the steam venting up, it actually drips down into this drip tray, and that just slips in on the bottom like that. Okay, now it's time to plug it in. I've got it connected to an outlet, and I will turn on the power. And what it's asking for is that to set it for 356 degrees for 15 minutes, the rear element. So I'm going to set it, it's set to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to set it to the rear oven. You have different bottom, and top, and rear. And they want us to go to 356 degrees. So let's bring this up here. 356 degrees Fahrenheit. And they want 15 minutes. So I'll bring this up to 15 minutes. It's on timer. And I will press the start button and see what happens. The light comes on inside, and it should start counting down. It's telling me right now what the current temperature is. It's 80 degrees in here. It's a little warm today, although it's a nice October day here in northern New Jersey. And it should start counting down, and I will come back. So it's been only about 2 minutes, and it's up to close to 300 degrees. And I don't know if the timer actually counts down. We're going to find that out because it hasn't started counting down. It says 15 minutes, but it might be 15 minutes from the time that it reaches temperature. Also, we're doing this using just the control panel on the front of the oven rather than using the app on the phone. And that gives some additional features. You can set it up remotely, monitor the cooking process from anywhere. There's a whole lot of recipes that you can use that are included in the app that switch between sous vide mode and roasting and searing and things like that. So let's see what happens as we approach the target temperature. We just got a little ding ding ding. We had set it for 356. And so I guess it's stabilizing. It overshot it a little bit. Now it's coming back down. And this is in normal mode. In sous vide mode, I think the top temperature is about 200 degrees or 212, and it's got very, very fine control within a tenth of a degree or so, whereas in regular temperature mode it can swing a little bit each way. So I'm just watching it doing its first test here, swinging around the 352. I think I had set it to 356, and we'll just see what it does on its first test like this. It may be doing calibration. It may be doing a whole lot of things for this first test. And now the timer is dropping down. The timer is now at 14 minutes, whereas while it was heating up, the timer didn't change at all, which was pretty good. So now it's showing how long it is staying at this temperature. And we're at 353.8. Coming up on 354, and now it's going to hover around the 356. And we'll see if it stabilizes and just stays there. They say that I think it's plus or minus 3 degrees in the regular temperature mode as opposed to the sous vide mode, which is very, very fine temperature control. So I'm going to just let this do this, and we will come back. So let's just check in again. We've got 9 minutes to go. It's hovering around 356 degrees. It goes up to about 358 and down to about 355 or so. So it's hovering around that temperature. It's not going to be as precise as in sous vide mode, but a degree or two off on 356 degrees is actually pretty good for an oven. I certainly don't expect that from my conventional oven. Okay, we've got about 1 minute to go on this first test. It says after the 15 minutes at 356, we want it to open the door, allow it to cool, and then set the oven at 356 again using the top and bottom heating elements, and then press start. So now we heard a little chime saying that the time is up, but I still hear the fan going. It didn't turn off. The light is still on. I don't know how long it goes. I'm just going to wait another minute to see if anything happens, if it shuts down or what. But the temperature is dropping, so it looks like the heating element has turned off. We can see on the left here that it's still searching for a Wi-Fi signal or a Wi-Fi connection, but I don't have the app connected. And so now this timer, the timer select, is pulsing. So I suspect I can just open it like that. I may need to press the start stop. There we go. So I guess it stays on until you press start stop. I'm going to open it up and let it cool off. And then I will set the top and bottom heating elements for 15 minutes and see. Meanwhile, we've got some lights on in there. That's nice. It's a nice bright interior. This tray would live on the bottom. And then we have racks that go in here. There are 2 racks. I think these are half sheet pan racks, so we might be able to get other racks, maybe perforated or whatever. Let's see, it's still pretty warm in here, so it looks like that's a single heating element on the bottom, and there's a larger heating element on top. We have a port here for the temperature sensor probe. It's got a little silicone plug that you can plug in. But in the meantime, I'm going to set this to top and bottom, which is here. And again, set this to 15 minutes at the same temperature. And just let it cool down just a little bit more. It's cool enough that I can put my hand in it, so that's probably pretty good. So let's see if I just start it and see where it picks up the temperature from. Well, we're starting at 190 something. That's cool enough, I think. And let's let this run for 15 minutes. Once again, it won't start timing until it reaches temperature. And then it will start timing, and we're set to the top and bottom. Well, just checking in, we've got about 5 minutes left to run in its second test. This test has the top and the bottom heating elements going. It's hovering around 356. It's not changing very much at all. It's at 356.1 at the moment. We're just at 356.2. Now it's at 0.0. And so maybe it's becoming a little more stable over time. So we're down to the last minute or two of the second test. In this test, we're using the top and bottom heating elements, I guess just to sort of get them fired up and burn off any residual oils or protectants that are on there. And the temperature has been very stable, around 356 degrees, maybe going up to 356.9, maybe dipping just a little bit below. So it may be calibrating itself and getting used to the temperature changes and to see how quickly it needs to react. And there are a number of temperature sensors in there, and we'll take a look at them later. In the back of the unit on the bottom, there on the bottom left, there is a lower temperature sensor. On the top left, there is an upper temperature sensor, and on the bottom right, there's a wet bulb temperature sensor, which is used when the humidity is high to get the accurate temperature reading with a high relative humidity, which will be useful when we're steaming. We're down to the last minute of the second test, and I think it gives a bit of a chime. Must be, there's the chime. And so now it keeps the light on and the fan on, and the temperature should start dropping down pretty soon. And I can turn it off by pressing the on-off button here, and just open it up and let it cool down. Then Lauren and I are going to go and get some distilled water for the water tank. So I'm going to turn this off here and open it up and let it vent. All right, the next test is trying to fill the water tank with water. Now I could just pull the tank out and bring it to the sink, but let's try filling it. I'm going to put a little funnel in here. I've got a 1-gallon water jug from the pharmacy. And let's see how much it takes, how long it takes to fill. I think it's about a gallon. It might be easier to do it this way than to take it to the sink. Or maybe I will 3D print a form-fitting funnel with a wider outlet. And it looks like it takes more than a gallon. So that's 1 gallon. And the maximum fill line is here, and only fill to there. So that's pretty good. I think we'll leave it there for the time being. And we will continue doing some tests. A couple of final notes. This completed our setup and test of the oven. We never did manage to get it hooked up to Wi-Fi. That is something we will deal with Anova customer support on Monday. But we did actually do our first cook, and we did a lovely prime New York strip steak. And we did it sous vide and seared it with a Searsol, and that worked out very well. Made some video of that, and I'll see if I can publish that in a subsequent video. But our initial tests so far have been very successful, and we're looking forward to putting this into its final location, which will be actually under our microwave oven on a counter, and look forward to experimenting with it. And tonight, Lauren has a chicken that she's going to try to cook. So we shall see how this works out. Bye for now.